Alrighty, class, we are going to start our new math unit today, so please take out your math book and a pencil for now. So we just wrapped up our unit on fractions, and now we're going to start our unit on decimals. Some of you may have heard of decimals before, and some of you may have not. It's a new concept for us in math. Now, it's important for us to learn about decimal numbers because we see them in our everyday lives. How many of you have bought something from either the gas station or the grocery store or anywhere else, a clothing store? Right, so if you look at the tag, it usually has the dollar sign, then it has a number, this little point, like this dot, and then two other numbers behind it. That is a decimal number. So it's important that we learn about them because they are used in money. Oftentimes you'll also see them used with measurements and different things like measuring distance. So you're going to see them a lot, and it's really important that we understand their value. So we are going to start that unit today. But before we get started, we're going to review a couple of concepts because decimals are related to fractions in a way. So we're going to review fractions just quickly. We also need to review a little bit place value because there's a whole different set of place value for decimals. Okay, so with a fraction, what is the number that's on top of the fraction? Say it with me. Numerator. Great. What is the number that's on the bottom of the fraction? Say it with me. Denominator. Great. So we have the numerator, we have the denominator. How do we say a fraction? If I have a 3, my fraction line, and a 4, how would I say that? Say it with me. 3/4. Great job. So we have our numerator, we have our denominator. We know that fractions end in TH as, right, 3/4. Okay. So now with place value, we worked on this earlier. We know we have the ones place. What's the next one? Say with me, tens place, great. And what's the next one? Thousands and so forth, right? So we know those place values. So now there's a whole nother set that comes with decimal points. And so we will learn that as we make it through our unit. But today we're just going to learn what a decimal number is and how to quickly identify that decimal number in a group of regular numbers, okay? So a decimal number is a number with one or more digits to the right of the decimal point. So if we have our place value here, we have our ones place here, we have this little dot, and that's our decimal point. And then we have other place values beyond the decimal point, but that is what makes a number a decimal number, is when it has this decimal point and then place value in digits to the right of that decimal point. So that's really important to understand. A decimal number has digits to the right of the decimal point. Say with me. Decimal number has digits to the right of the decimal point. Great job. So I'm going to show you a set, this first set of decimals up here. So we have, set of numbers. They're not all decimal numbers, okay? So we're trying to identify which ones are decimal numbers and which ones are regular numbers. So this first one, 4.1, is that a decimal number or is it a regular number? Decimal number, right? Because it has the decimal point and a digit to the right. What about this middle number, 5? No, it's not a decimal number because there is not a decimal point or digits to the right of the decimal point. What about this one, 0.6? It's a decimal number because we have the decimal point and a digit to the right of the decimal point. And it can have multiple digits to the right, but as long as there is a digit to the right of the decimal point, it's a decimal number, okay? So with your partner, okay? Think about it. We have 1.27. 1.27. Think about it. Is it a decimal number or is it a regular number? When you've thought about it, pair with your partner and discuss it, and then we will share out. Group 1, what did you come up with? Decimal number? How about group 5? Decimal number. Are we under all the same consensus that it's a decimal number? How come? Because there are digits to the right of the decimal point. Good job. What about this middle one? 17. Think about it and then group up with your partner. Group 2, did you come up with a decimal number or a regular number? Regular, okay. What about group 4? Regular. Did we all come up with regular number? Why is it that way, group 3? Because there is no decimal point here or digits to the right of that decimal point. Great job. Okay. What about this one? 3.52. 3.52. Think about it and then join with your partner and discuss it. 3.52. Group 3, what did you come up with? Decimal. What about you, group 4? Decimal? Everybody get decimal? Great job. It's a decimal because there is a decimal point and digits to the right of the decimal point. Awesome job, you guys. So now we're going to do the same thing, but you're going to do this on your own. You're going to write it on your whiteboard. So you need your whiteboard and your marker. And you're going to solve these on your whiteboard. You're either going to write decimal or not a decimal or regular number, however you want to differentiate the two. Okay? And then I will come around and check them. So our first one is 1. Great job. It looks like everybody got regular number. The second one, 0.31. 0.31. Remember, decimal point and digits to the right of the decimal point. Looks like everybody got the correct answer. Great job. What about 1.1? Looks like everybody got that one as well. It's a decimal point. But what if I had 1.0? What if I had 1.0? That's where it can get tricky because there is a decimal point and technically there is a digit to the right of that decimal point, so it would be a decimal number. But many people would think, well, it's just 0, so we'll just take it off, which they both equal 1, but 1 alone is just a regular number. 1.0 is a decimal number, okay? So it's that decimal point and the digits to the right of that decimal point. Alrighty, what about this last one? 17.001. 17.001. Write it on your whiteboard. Looks like everybody is understanding this concept very well. It is a decimal number because there's a decimal point and there are digits to the right of the decimal point. Great job, you guys. You guys did excellent this lesson, so we're just going to review real quick. What makes a decimal number? Group 2. Right, a decimal point. And what about group 3? What after that? Digits to the right of the decimal point. Great job. So decimal point and digits to the right of the decimal point make it a decimal number. Okay, so tomorrow we are going to work on the first place value that is to the right of the decimal point, okay? And it's a little bit different than the place values we have learned. Okay, so we know ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and so forth. This is a little bit different because it doesn't start with the ones, okay? So tomorrow, that's what we're going to learn about now that we understand what a decimal number is. right? A decimal point with digits to the right of the decimal point. So before we go to our next activity, I have exit tickets with 3 questions on them about decimal numbers. I would like you to answer them, please, before going on to the next activity.